The insolence is the biggest mystery in all of Piggy, and after 4 years, it still hasn't been solved. We've gotten so much information on it, but the Piggy community has kind of deemed the insolence as some mystery that was never concluded. And for a while, I also thought that, but I did some research and the insolence is quite frankly a simple topic. After 4 years of the game being out, you'd think we would have a satisfying conclusion on what the insolence is that everyone could agree on. But we don't. And with 3 new Piggy games announced, and one of them being right around the corner, it's about time we solve this. Since there's a new game coming up, it's important that we know what's going on and what the foundation for those games are. Plus, we're going to be really busy with the new mysteries in the prequel, so it's important that you know what the insolence is. After a whole month's worth of research, I have figured out a lot about the insolence, mainly 3 things. 1. The origins of Tio. 2. Why Tio and his friend hate each other so much. And 3. What the heck even is the insolence? Is it the people that Tio controls, or what? Well, let's find out. Keep in mind, this is all just a theory, but I'm 95% sure that this is the insolence explained. To start this off, let's go over the basics of what we know for sure. In Chapter 10, we meet this mysterious man who the community named Dude Man. His real name gets revealed to be Tio, so that's what I'll be calling him. Tio tells us he doesn't want us to get the cure, because it will start a war between survivors. But later we see this extra note in the Season 1 Battle Pass that says, "They warned me, but he told me. He offered. I did it, and this is how I am repaid. With insufferable pain and guilt. These burdens are far too much for me to carry. Now he won't go away. He never does. He'll get what he deserves, I know it." It seems Tio is the one who influenced him into making the infection, so then why doesn't he want us to get the cure? Maybe because it will erase his doings, but it seems he's only wanted to do evil. Wouldn't this war just be making the infection create even more evil? Well, in the distraction map, Tio tells Izzy that he made a friend, one from beyond. Tio started to become more and more like his friend. Then his friend got mad about this, and he took out his anger on the entire world. And the only thing that has happened in Piggy that affected everyone across the globe is the infection, which means his friend had to have made the infection. So Tio just doesn't want his friend to create even more evil. He's jealous. In fact, Dude Man describes his friend as being jealous of him for becoming more like him. So then who is his friend? It's Stitchy. It's obviously Stitchy. In the time map, we see a series of notes that tell the story of the prince going missing out of nowhere. In the bedroom of the prince, we see drawings of Stitchy and even a plushie of him. This adds up with what Tio said in the distraction map about how he used to be young and silent until he made himself a friend from beyond. He used to be the prince, and he got kidnapped by Stitchy. And if you don't believe that the prince is Dude Man, well, there's a lot of proof that says otherwise. First off, in the mansion chapter end cutscene, we see that Eddie is researching the insolence, and we see that a lot of activity happens in the North Docks. Well, in the docks, we see 3 coffins. One of them says, "Here lies King Milo." One of them says, "Here lies Queen Viola." But then there's a third empty coffin, which adds up with the prince never being found. But inside the coffin, there's a rusty note that says "soon." We've seen throughout the game that rusty notes are always talking about something insolence related, and people theorized that Mr. Stitchy was going to show up soon, and instead Tio showed up, showing that the missing child is Tio, which would make sense. Stitchy kidnapped Tio, Tio started to become more like Stitchy, then Stitchy got jealous of him and left to create the infection. And for the biggest proof of them, all this was outright confirmed by Mini Toon on the Mini Moon channel, where he said this.
Oh, run! Run, 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 run! There's a reason why this looks kind of like a dungeon slash castle, and that has to do... actually, I can't say, but it has something to do... I mean, you already have some clues as to what's going on based on a recent event chapter. In here.
A recent event map, huh? The only recent event map was the time map where we see a castle where Tio used to live. It seems Tio has taken the castle, or at least its dungeon, and now uses it for himself. So what happened next? Stitchy took Tio with him, then Stitchy got jealous of him. But why? Well, all this time we've sort of thought of the insolence as just the people that Tio controls, but I think that's far from it. I think there are people like him in Beyond or the Underneath. Now real quick, how do I know this name? Well, a while back Mini Toon tweeted this, which got decoded to the "I doth watch from the underneath, the I doth seek those who are meek," a tweet that got completely ignored. That's not the only information we've ignored from his Twitter either. I bet you don't know this, but Tio's real name used to be Harold, which we know from this tweet, which shows Tio in emoji form with the caption Harold, hence Harold the human. But anyways, I believe that there are other people like Tio and Stitchy in the underneath, and I don't just mean mindless sentinels. First off, when Tio's name got revealed, he said that people call him many things. So who calls him these names? No one has ever called him anything in the series. In fact, no one really wants to talk about him at all. It would make sense if there were other people in the underneath who call him these names. It would make sense why Stitchy is jealous. Stitchy used to be the guy that everyone looked up to. He was kind of the leader of the insolence until Tio came along and people started looking up to him. Then Stitchy made the infection so that people would start to look up back to him. It all makes sense. And for even more proof in the time map, we see Tio was making a purple suit, one that he still wears to this day. Also, we see Stitchy giving him a mask, which he also still uses to this day. But why would he need this? Well, if there were other people in the underneath, they would probably be freaked out if they saw a human. So he made him a mask and a purple suit. And for the final proof, the time teaser reads this. It's been a while since you've seen them. You know what they have done. After all this time, can you forgive them? I think they wonder too. This again implies that there are more people in the underneath, specifically highlighting the word them. If you brighten up the image, you get some numbers that get decoded to you gave him a face, you've seen his eyes, he ruined you. This time only talking about one person, Tio. Stitchy didn't literally give him a face, more so he gave him recognition and something to recognize him as, hence you gave him a face. It makes sense. It's quite ironic that Harold was going to be king someday and rule in his castle, and he did rule in his castle, but not of humans, of the insolence. And to end off this section of my theory, to cap it all off and prove my theory, one of the first ever sightings of the insolence proves this all. In the Halloween update in 2020, we found some candles around the forest where if we light them all in this shape, we summon Mr. Stitchy. We then bring him to this cave and get him into this purple light, he disappears, and we get the Mr. Stitchy skin. There were also a series of notes. These notes were rusty, unlike the others. The first one was found in the forest, right under the structure where you summon him. It says, do not draw the house with light. It will draw him too. This would make sense if Tio was writing it, since we know Tio also summoned Stitchy in his bedroom, hence don't draw the house with light. This explains how Tio summoned Stitchy. The next one is in the school. It says, I gave him a face, I was his only friend. This seems to be written by Stitchy, who gave Tio a face and was his only friend. The next one is found in the carnival map. It says someone began to disrupt the countryside. The descriptions of witnesses matches look, I never saw him again. This could go both ways, but it's probably Stitchy writing it, since Tio likes to show himself to people a lot. The next one also in the carnival says when he learned of my condition, he grew sad and frustrated. He left. Again telling the story of Tio and Stitchy. It all fits together perfectly. So what is the insolence? The insolence is the people of the underneath who used to look up to Stitchy until he brought a prince named Harold into the underneath, who eventually became as powerful as Stitchy, and people started looking up to Tio instead. Stitchy got mad about this and left. He got Mr. P to make the infection so that the insolence will look up to him instead, and it's been working. We've seen some people trying to summon Stitchy, like in this note that says light the beacon, summon it, which we know light is the only way to summon Stitchy. With Tio dead, they're going to have to go back to Stitchy. And the infection is just the first part of his plan. Once the cure gets out, there's going to be war. We see this happening in the few teasers for Inner City we have. Stitchy has taken control of the capital and is starting war. With Tio gone, there's no one left who has the power to defeat Stitchy, which is exactly what it seems Inner City is going to be about. And that is the insolence explained. But that's not the only mystery that needs solving. For example, the longest and scariest chapter in Piggy Decay.